Good morning, students. It's Wednesday, April 22nd, and I have a very short video for you today because you actually have two other videos that I'm going to have you watch, but they're both pretty short. Today, we are going to read our last poem of our poetry unit, and it is right next to the one you read yesterday, yesterday, and it's this one by Robert Frost, and it's called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. As with all of our poets and our poems, we are reading extremely famous poets, but Robert Frost is especially famous. He is an American poet, and him and this poem are extremely well known by people. He writes from a perspective of like examining rural life, meaning not living in the cities, and he uses those to talk about bigger ideas. And what's kind of interesting about Robert Frost is he is like an American institution, meaning he is just one of our like major people that we are proud of in our country. And he actually has won 4 Pulitzer Prizes for his poetry. And if you don't know what a Pulitzer Prize is, Pulitzer Prizes are for like exceptionality in writing, so poetry or novels, journalism, and photography. And so he is the only poet to receive 4, and he also won a Congressional Gold Medal for his poetry. So he's a big deal. He was writing in the early part of the 20th century, which is like, he was born in 1874, but so he was a young adult in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and 1900s is what we call the 20th century. And so he was writing through like World War I and World War II, which you'll learn more about next year. And so yeah, he's a big deal. This is one of my favorite poems. I think it gives you a lot of good imagery, and it gives you some of those examples of things that we have our 5 colors for. Now, some of you have been like, Miss Doyle, the last poem didn't have any rhyme. What do I do? What do I do? That's okay. This poem, you're going to want to focus on rhyme, imagery, and figurative language. Okay, so rhyme, imagery, and figurative language. Imagery and figurative language are super big in this one. Okay, and again, just like the poem from yesterday, tomorrow we're going to talk about the author's style poem, which is the pencil border sheet you got in your packet, where you're going to write your own version, kind of copying or imitating one of our poets. And this is one of the options, is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. So it's not very long. I like it because it's got very specific chunks and stanzas, and it's got a rhythm to it. But I want you to pay attention to when you listen to, because both versions I have are Robert Frost himself actually reciting the poem. I want you to pay attention to how he speeds up and slows down at certain parts. Both versions I have that you're gonna watch him recite it in one, so you get to see his face, and the other one you're just gonna listen to him reciting it. And I want you to pay attention to what we call his pace or his rhythm of how he reads it. And I want you to think about, is there any reason why he might speed up at certain parts? Okay, so there is rhyme, imagery, and figurative language. Those are the ones I want you to focus on. There is some alliteration, but that's not as much of a big deal as it is the imagery and the figurative language. Okay, last thing, your homework for tonight is our last worksheet, like that's not related to this. So this is what we're going to start tomorrow. Your homework tonight is on the back of this packet. It's the alliteration and assonance practice. It's just going to give you some additional practice in finding those things. So yeah, again, one final note. There is a word in this poem that the meaning has changed over the course of history, which is what's kind of cool about language. And one of the reasons I like it is that words can change and evolve in their meaning, such as the word queer, which is in this poem. And queer in this poem, and what its primary meaning is just strange, so odd. That's all it means there. Okay. It is morphed and changed and had new meaning attached to it, but in this poem, it just means strange or odd. Okay, so enjoy watching and listening to Robert Frost, an American institution, a very, very, very famous poet, reading one of his most famous poems, and pay attention to those items that I told you to, and I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the other videos, and I look forward to talking to you online. All right, bye.